Hi, good evening and welcome. Love Life didn't mention where tourists are gathered. I wasn't part of our mantra. Hi, I'm Trevor Smith and I'm part of your hosting team along with Andre Allen Casey. Challenge that we're probably having today is that we are on the mission field. The whole crew is actually in the West, um, working on Melissa relief. So it's going to be challenging to muster um, a, a full crew today, although Brother Andre might be bringing his posse along, which would help. All right. So welcome. I'm going to go ahead because it's the last session for the year, and I would want us to um, not have that. So they want to inform you that this Love Life session, this whole series has been going on pre-COVID, uh, and it's an outreach of the St. Andrew Church of Christ, and we meet at 77 Red Hills Road in Kingston, Jamaica. And the intention and the objective really is to look at issues that individuals might be having um, in navigating life. And these are not things necessarily that you would include in a sermon. And, we want you to have the interactivity as well. And so that's the basis of the series. But normally, we have a little commercial break. So we just let you know that the St. Andrew Church of Christ meets on Sundays at 77 Red Hills Road. We actually start at 9 a.m. And there's the worship service, which normally goes until about 10:30. And then we have a series of Bible classes from, infants right up to adults, where we deal with interesting topics, actually. And then on Tuesdays, using this very same Zoom link, we have our midweek Bible class. Now, if you're unable to come to 77 Reddings Road, you can participate by using this very same Zoom link in our Bible class sessions, etc. The other thing I would like to share up front is that the Love Life series are being streamed. They've been streamed on YouTube, Simply Christians JA, so you can see past events and you can invite people to participate there as well. And similarly, our worship service and Bible classes are also recorded and are available on YouTube as well as on Facebook. Today, we will be exploring common socialization myths. And it's it's a two-part, but the first part went so long ago. But you can actually see it on our YouTube channel. And with me is counseling psychologist Andre Allen Casey, who probably needs no introduction. So I won't go there. I am Trevor Smith, as I mentioned before, and we are both members of the St. Andrew Church of Christ. I am involved with behavioral assessments and working around um, communication related to, especially the DISC framework: dominance, influence, steadiness, conscientiousness. So, yeah, heavily and deeply involved with behavioral science. So that's it. And so, um, again, a little bit of the commercial before we start. I see that on TV, Jade, from the commercials. So our Bible class series at present, on Sundays, we're doing a series coming to a close now, actually, at the end of this month, um, heart of a Christian, where we look at issues that impact our walk as Christians. And tomorrow we're dealing with apathy. Apathy as an issue that impacts how we serve God and others. And Tuesday nights, really interesting. Fully Alive in 2025 with Brother David, again using the same Zoom link at 6:30. All right. So we're going to stop share for a minute and invite you, if you can, just bow with us a little bit as we say a word of prayer. Almighty God, we thank you, Lord, for your continued blessing in our lives. Thank you for sparing our lives and allowing us to be able to participate in this navigating life session. We just pray, Father, that there'll be value added from our time together. Pray all of this in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so I'm going to get up camera for a second and change tack to where I need to be. Brother Andre, you all right?
So far, so good.
All right. Okay, so when I look at these myths, get myself in trouble. Fortunately, I don't have any parents or grandparents that watching it to go and spank me afterwards. But basically, what we want to look at are things that have been handed down through the generations as truths, and we use it. And my contention, and this session is a session where definitely there are a period where I want to have some of the discussions. So I'm going to put out some ideas. I'm going to challenge some things that my grandparents would have shared. And the context in which I'm doing it is impact on our interpersonal relationships. Okay, so that's the context. The context is how are these things making it more difficult for us to navigate the complex issue of relating one with another. That's the context. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and we take it. We're not rushing. If you want to discuss one for the whole period, it's all right. We have 12 months next year. Okay. So the first one, not too far, is first impressions. So some of you who probably have seen me for the first time have formed an impression. Definitely. If you're still on, it means that the impression you get might be that, let me be polite and hang around, but I don't really think this guy has anything to offer. That might be one impression. But they definitely would have formed an impression. That's how we are. The challenge that I'm throwing out is, should it last? That's the question. That's the issue that I'm saying. And that's the point. Somebody throwing stones already? Oh, somebody just want to be polite. Okay. All right, thanks. All right. Yeah. So the question is, should it last? And so the myth is, the claim is that that's where it's coming from. Let me tell you where it's coming from, actually. It's coming from the situation where my mother would say, remember, Trevor, do not embarrass the family. Remember, first impression. Make a good impression. Make a good impression, because not good impressions last. First impressions last. Make a good. Don't let me down. Be so. It's drilled into us the importance of making a good first impression, because if you do not do that, boy, trust me, life is going to be difficult for you. That's it. So basically, what that is teaching us is that we must also learn that the first time I see Andre Allen Casey, I am to form some impressions. And no matter what he does or whatever come up afterwards, that is Allen Casey. That's him. And that is why sometimes when it actually seeps through and another reality comes, we are going to say to the person, Brother Andre, you know, I'm going to just meet you. I thought that you were a sensible person. Okay, let's behave today. Right. So so that's the key. That we go back and we say to the person, I used to think that were X or Y, but now that I get to know you, etc. And so, but that does not happen. Sometimes the label sticks with us like with crazy glue for the rest of our existence. I have cases that, I use this example in workshops where one of my first engagements with a team, one young lady came in as an apprentice, right? Starting to learn the job, it's a shipping logistics company. And, so they were teaching her the things, etc. Years after, this woman is a big, proficient, person in the job. And they're still relating to her like she's the apprentice that just, up to recently we laughed about it to say, these people still have you as a apprentice. And so that's part of the problem is that we find it difficult to let go of that first label because our parents drill it into us how important that first impression is. So my plea, my suggestion is that that attitude promotes judgment, quick judgment. The moment I meet you, I must form an opinion. I must make a judgment. And what that does is it doesn't make room for the fact that I might just be having a bad day. I might, and I don't want to go to the point now to say that I can change and I can be different. I might just be nervous. I'm just not in the right moment. I might be distracted. A taxi man just run across me and nearly, kill me and my family. So that's the problem I have with it. Now let's move it. And again, I'm coming in a minute. There's a space where we're going to ask some questions and ask you to share. So from the Christian context then, the Bible perspective is that redemption, transformation, that's the whole concept of why we have, the gospel and redemption and changes that we can actually move from one side and to be different. Of course, we can do the opposite. But if you look at Paul, Paul was 1 minute looking at, murder. He was saying, yes, I used to sign off on these murders and ask for permission to go get more. And then look at it. So the question that we have to ask ourselves is, if the church, early church, had been drilled sufficiently like we are about the importance of first impressions, would we have all of these gospels that Paul had written? Or would we have said, no, you are, well, actually, some of them did, people were afraid, to go and talk to him because they said, me, we can't talk to this man and this man breathing fire and killing people. But what I'm just, you understand where I'm going and the challenge that I have. And so for me, the big thing would be that we need to look below the surface. We can't just have this first impression thing, right? And as we see here, 1 Samuel 16 and verse 7 says, the Lord does not see us the same way. And you're looking at the outer appearance. Oh, you look tall, so yeah, okay, fine. It must be you that we need to set up as a king. So the practical application of this whole thing is that, yes, we can't help it but come to an impression, but the question is, should it last? And should we not be patient and try to learn more about the individual before we come to any conclusion as to their character? So let me give you some examples, and you can start to look at the questions down that I'm going to ask you so that when we come, we don't have a lot of dead here. But let me get the questions first. How does relying on lasting first impressions limit the ministry and the outreach of the church? Or does it? Does it? If we believe in God's power to transform, how does that compel us to give people a second, a third, and maybe even a 77 chance? That's a question. So, to reinforce the point, a new person, visitor, like one of you who will come with us, come tomorrow at 77 Reddit Road. Visitor comes in, but they're not so comfortable. They look a little maybe awkward, and don't look inviting. They don't feel as if it's somebody that you can just go up and greet and so on. And we might just come to the impression that this person is aloof and unfriendly. Maybe that's the possibility. Sometimes that happens. We tend to gravitate to some people and keep away from other people. The person out. So have some fellowship with them. And certainly look forward to see them next week. Let them know the seat that they are in is where will be there for them next time. So try and get them through their anxiety, or if they're shy, help them to come out. Here's another a conflict. So you're at work, something happens, and with a new colleague, etc. And they say something to you that didn't land very well with you. And it really could have been said better, and it was pretty rude, actually. Do you, as we do, decide that, okay, that person, Trevor, is rude, they got no manners, and you just stay far from him? Or do you take an opportunity to speak to the person privately and calmly?
Is Brother Smith off?
It said he left.
It seems like he's back, but I'm
No,
not hearing him.
I'm not fully. Okay, it's back. Okay, cool. Wow. Hello? All right. I'm back. Anybody can just verify that they are hearing me and seeing me?
Yes, hearing and seeing.
Okay, cool. All right, yeah. So the discussion then is, how does this lasting impression, this lasting first impression, is it a factor in how we evangelize, how we minister, how we relate, even outside of the church? Is it a factor? Is it something that is impacting how we navigate interpersonal relations? Or it doesn't matter? Is it a benefit? That is a good thing for us to be able to come to quick judgment so we can know who to be friends with. Tell our children, tell our children when we go to school, make sure you get into the right crew, etc. So, what are your thoughts about this? Don't mind digital and its interruptive behavior. Let's go on. Well, Andre, you're part of the crew to talk about as well, so you feel free. Right, yeah. So anybody wants to discuss this? Is this a matter or this I'm just trying to fill the room with information and pick up time? Or is this really a serious issue? See our evangelist on as well, and he would definitely have some thoughts about this. President, is the issue of first impression and lasting, and holding on to what it is after we meet the person. Maybe even after 2, 3 meetings, we sort of put them in account. Go ahead, boss.
Yeah. The only thing I would say, I don't know if you can see or hear me. I can neither see or hear
Yeah,
myself.
man, you're in your bed.
All right, then. The only thing I would say where that is concerned, and I'm not going to put it. I'm going to lean a little bit away from the church circle, and
Okay,
say
man,
more
that's good.
like, of course, it can happen in any circle. I'm just widening it. I'm widening it, to say
Definitely.
that especially if what you said hurt me at that point in time, you know. And so I don't know if you even have this one here, but once bitten, twice shy. you
Yeah.
And so guess what happened?
Yeah.
We are going to remain shy for the rest of our life because I get bitten and I don't want this to ever happen again. And I mark you. And, and because I mark you, even when truths come from out from your mouth, I'm not in a position to hear any more truth because I am tarnished by by that first impression, something that you said, something that you did, something that you wore, whatever. And so we have this almost Jahari's window mindset. The Jahari's window says that, boy, what I see, from a small window, literally from a window, becomes my impression of you. It's not like you're looking through a door and see me, and
Right.
so that impression remains constant in my mind. And since it was a bad impression or interaction, then guess what happened? That's going to stay with me, and I'm not going to forgive you. I'm not going to listen to you. You can't say nothing to me, and what have you. And so, it is a terrible, terrible, terrible concept that we have held on to, and unfortunately, it continued to ruin relationships and interfere with forgiveness, interfere with even repentance or forgiveness, to bring it back now to a kind of church setting. That's my.
No, it's brilliant. I mean, just double checking if this streaming is okay, it is going on. All right, cool. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, the ones bitten twice is along the very same line. It's along the same line. Anybody else want to?
I just probably put in my little 2 cents. I don't know if it will make any sense. It may start out that way, but that is where now communication comes in. Because the moment we can somehow start to communicate, we may very well realize that we have shared values. And then, from there, things will kind of, that negative perception, Trevor is not such a bad guy, and you start to, but the communication is where, because a lot of the time we think, but we don't really have the facts until we start to communicate.
Donna?
That's the thing. Yes.
Powerful insight. Let me just share something with you. Okay.
Yeah.
It is so, what you're saying there is so important. But the question that we have to ask sometimes is, why do we put a mountain in the way first and then clear the mountain? In other words, instead of coming to some conclusion first and then having to overcome that hurdle, why not just leave the thing open?
Yep. Yep.
Why leave the thing open? So that we don't have to go back and say, when I just met you, I thought, just
Yes.
keep an open mind. So I hear you that many people who develop good, sensible relationships keep their mind open. So even though they might have an impression, they keep their mind open, and over time can go there. Unfortunately, there are people that don't allow for that. Andre just talk about one spit and twice shy. You do something to me, and that's it. Door closed. No opportunity to develop the relationship. No opportunity for the communication, and that's part of the problem that I have. And we see it in even some of the violence, some of the encounters that we see out there. It's an altercation. Something does happen. Somebody say something, do something, step on your shoe. I don't know. I see it, right? So we do some work at Melrose in terms of, we have a Christ Ambassadors program in the afternoon, and you just interact with them, and you'll be amazed to see how entrenched some of this is. That they come into the thing and you want somebody to sit, come and sit here. No, and I sit in the side row, because when you try and find out why, it's not so clear as to what it is. But they really are far down the road of something happened, and that something is going to determine how we relate throughout our time at school here. This is the same thing, how we relate in terms of the community, how we relate at work. I've been there, and you know it. There are people at work that don't talk. There's a classic case for me where doing a workshop and people are talking about it. And open seating, there's open seating, so the desks are clearly, you can see the person. There's one individual who they're working together, so information has to be shared, but they're not speaking. So this individual has to communicate with the person across from them. They wait until the person gets up or to go to the bathroom, whatever it is, and then they go and put the notes on the desk. This is not makeup. This is not call it the comedy corner. This is real stuff that people are getting paid big money, and that's how they behave. So when we talk about some of these things, I don't want us to believe that this is not real, because people are in fact there. So, all right, let's move on so we can get to another one. Very nice. Okay, and some of these things, by the way, it sound good, and it kind of makes sense. As a matter of fact, apart from the first impression, because I never bought into that one, I might have said this one, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Who think that this is valid and that, we should endorse mommy? Yeah, I don't have to say it online, but you might be nodding your head to say, of course. People say too many bad things and whatever it is. Yeah, I'm there too. But listen to this. Silence. This is what the idea is, that if you can't say anything, keep quiet. So silence then is being elevated above the need for difficult, sometimes negative communication. That's a question. Yes. And I'm not talking about no browbeating or saying bad things about people. I'm saying, does silence have to have the priority over important communication that needs to take place? That's the question. So I don't think that silence should have priority over truth. But don't sometimes this one is hard because some people are going to walk away from here now and think, see, I always know that I must just call a spade, and just tell people what I have on my mind. And we go to the workshop, the man from whatever it is in the workshop say, yes, you need to just tell people. I'm not going there. Okay, please, nobody walk away from here. But what I'm warning against is the challenge of suppressing your feelings, suppressing the need to communicate, to express something that is valuable, that is not coming from a bad place. That's where it is. If there's a conflict, can we, instead of avoiding it, I don't believe in conflict avoidance. I believe that we should address it and get it out, because once you sweep the thing under the carpet, one day it builds up until you have the big explosion. So sometimes also we need to set boundaries. So this is not cascades that I'm encouraging, please. All I'm saying though is that if we walk up and down with this, because human beings are really clever. We like to take things that are aligned with our personality and what it is we want to do, and just quote this, quote this, and use it and beat people over the head. No, I'm not going to. But let us look at it from the Christian perspective. And by the way, nav life is not just about church things. This is not navigating your life all about. So I'm glad for Andre that explaining the first one, that we need to look at the broader application, the broadest application. So the gospel tells us, speak the truth in love. And sometimes the most loving action, as it says here, is to speak a word of correction or to help somebody with their accountability. Yes. So constructive criticism, I think, is important as we navigate through life. And Ephesians 4, verse 13 talks about it. Yeah? As we said, speaking the truth in love. And I love Proverbs 27, verse 6, that says, faithful are the wounds of a friend. In other words, some people walk away from the thing because, oh, you're my best friend and talk to me like that. It's not your best friend. Your best friend should be able to say to you, hey, I almost said it the wrong thing. Hey, you're doing the wrong thing here. Hey, watch it. Step back from that. No, man, that is not you. You can't behave like that. No, I can't allow you to behave like that. That is where your best friend. And you might be upset and wonder. So that's part of what a friend is. A friend is there to correct us even when it is painful. And if we then gloss over and just say nice things to people when they're doing the wrong thing, just because we want a peaceful life and because we don't have anything nice to say, are we doing them any justice? That's a question. And of course, you're going to have your questions to answer. Hope I do better this time than the last time with the questions and the discussions. Thanks, Nana. Thanks, Andre. What is the difference between being nice and being loving in a relationship? And the relationship doesn't have to be, man, woman, it can be any kind of interaction. And how does the concept of accountability require us to reject this saying that if you don't have anything nice to say, and it's not us in the church, so let us broaden this. All right. Just some examples. So, close friend is making destructive choices, and you just stay quiet because I don't want to upset my friend. Yeah. I'm a bosom bro. And you can see them going down a road that is destructive, and you say nothing. The Christian approach and our approach should be that out of deep concern, you want to come and talk to them. I have seen instances like this. I have some of those difficult conversations where you tremble to say it because it's sometimes so embarrassing. But you need to say it. You need to say it. And then I also know the boundary side of things where it might impact in the relationship. And somebody's like at work, coming and, sort of just passing on all of your work on you, etc. And you just accept it. Just accept it. Or they just do. Somebody talked to me about a behavior of a colleague who was doing kind of crazy things and expect that you would just take it. No, you can set the boundary. So you could say, yeah, using language, when it says I say assertive here, but at least clear language to say, listen, this is all right, but this is out of bounds. Can we agree on that? This is okay, but this is not. For example, when you did so and so, I didn't think it was appropriate. Do you? So going forward, I would prefer if that kind of thing doesn't take place going forward. Are we clear on that? So, was that something nice that I said? No, I don't think so. But was it required? I think so, but I want to hear from you. So, open forum again. Hopefully, some of those who have been shy will come forward so that we can have full participation. So, what is the difference between being nice, and not saying anything, and being loving, in which case I'm caring about the person? Jump in, jump in. Should we be willing to hold somebody accountable and help them to navigate life effectively rather than just be nice and smile? Yes? Even when their behavior is clearly inappropriate and damaging to themselves or to others or to you, should we only speak when we have nice things to say? Sometimes I don't have that power here, but sometimes in a workshop, I will just ask somebody, somebody hiding in the wings, and we just open the thing and run down and just ask somebody. But I can't do that because I don't know these people well enough. And my first impression might be wrong. Good. Lady Deborah. Go ahead, please.
Good evening.
Hi.
So based on the question, if I understand you correctly, I would say that we won't always come off as being nice. even though we might correct from our heart, right, in a loving way. So in our heart, we are correcting in a loving way, but the way how it is received, the recipient might not take it as you being loving. And so I think that yes, we should correct, even if because if we have the person's best interest at heart, then we are not going to allow them to, to do the thing that we know that, it's unacceptable or inappropriate. So just to help them in a loving way, we are going to correct. And so even if it means that they're not going to think that we're being nice. That's my opinion, because the Bible also says, I don't know if you mentioned it, I might have missed it, but the Bible says that we should, I don't think I'm saying it word for word, but it says that you should correct persons with the spirit of love.
Yeah, speak the truth in love. Yeah, we just
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So
Right.
based on that, then I believe that, and then if the recipient also understands motive, even if at the time the correction might not, you might not feel so nice, like it is coming from a loving place. But if you know the person's heart and their motive, then you will understand that the correction is is to get the best out of you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. No, I'm not talking with a two-sided anymore, but let me just tell you something. Life is not easy to navigate, So you see that you're coming from your best place in your heart, etc. And you tell me something. But you see the thing that you're talking to me about is something that I want to do. It's something that, I feel comfortable doing that. I want to do this, right? And so when you are telling me not to do that, am I just going to accept it and change and say, okay, fine, Lady Deborah said do this, and I'm saying, no, because and we lie to ourselves. That is the other thing. So in order to keep and be myself, that's another one the we talk about. In order to be myself, I have to reject not only what you are saying, but you. Because I'm going to say it's bad mind. It's just, you can go on your ways and because whatever it is. So the potential is there for me to totally reject you and not see that you're coming from a good place because I want to hold on to what it is that I'm doing. And so I'm adding that piece here to say to you that while we must speak the truth, understand that there is a risk as well. No, for me, the courageous person, the person who truly loves, must risk an interruption in the relationship in order to, get the person in a better place. We talk about the person, in the scripture that let's say separate yourself from them, keep them out of the assembly for. And the objective is not for them to die and burn in hell, but for them to understand the value of what it is that they're missing and to repent and come back. So when we are thinking about it, sometimes we are saying, boy, is my good friend, I really wouldn't want to lose this friendship. We have to understand that sometimes you have to lose it in order for it to strengthen it. I hope that makes a little sense. Somebody can actually put it, make it clearer. But you understand what I'm saying? That sometimes the person will not see eye to eye with you that you're coming from a good place. And it could actually harm the relationship. Even if it's not a break, it might cool it down. They don't want to listen to you, they don't want to talk to you for a while. And that is where the danger is now, that somehow now we have to be brave in order to do it. Debbie, you go ahead first, and then I see Donna coming back. All right. Go ahead
Me?
then. Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead first. And
Right.
then so Donna coming up to you afterwards. Yeah.
Right. So I have experienced this before, and as you said, sometimes when you do you lose a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
But what I find happening though, oftentimes, over time the person comes around. I won't say that the friendship comes back to how it was before, because I've had experiences where just the same thing happens. The person is doing something, and I say, "Boy, I don't think you should do this, because so and so and so," and the person didn't take it well, and so the friendship is strained. But over time, the person has come around, but the friendship is still not the same. It's like we're not that close anymore. I don't know if it is that the individual, she doesn't want to be in a position where I will correct her on anything else
Okay.
or whatever. But we there's no malice. So at a point there was a malice, like she just took herself away, and then but then afterwards she came back around. So we're friends now again, but it's not like it was before. So
Got it.
sometimes that happens, but and I can see that she she realized that what I did was I wasn't being unkind to her,
Right.
but I think now she's keeping herself in a position where okay, I don't want any more corrections from you, right? I took that one and I understand why you gave me that one, but let's keep it like this so you won't have to correct me on anything else. So sometimes that happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. Life is complex. Donna, and I see you Renick afterwards. Okay, go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, man, life is complex. Real life situation. Where it's somebody that I've known for a while. I realized that the behavior was really, really could become harmful to the person. So, you try again to show them another way. You try to, talk to them in a loving way, but then they don't necessarily accept. That's another thing. You will come, but you can't force people and may not accept.
Got
But
it.
then it bothered me for a while. So because of somebody who has gone through with, family member with a suicide case, I listened to the type of how she was thinking, oh, don't tell anybody. And then I was there, I said, my God, but if anything happened and I don't tell anybody, I'm going to feel guilty about it. So I figured the best thing to do was to reach out in my mind to a responsible family member to try, to see if they could get help. But at the end of it, that family member did not handle it properly and it backfired on me.
And you.
Of course. So, I mean, I told her exactly that I saw her in pain for months and she was getting very sick, taking sleeping tablets and talking about death. And, she said, did I ever ask you for your help? But it's now with the family, so they're going to have to take it over. But again, sometimes persons may not necessarily want to accept help. Sometimes they just want to stay how they are, not knowing that, hey, you're not well. So, you know, it's complex.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Donna, your turn. Thanks, Debbie.
Yeah, yeah.
Donna.
Oh, I just did mine a while ago. That was done a
Oh,
while
that's you.
ago.
That's you. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Renick.
yeah, yeah.
Good evening, everyone. So, based on the question, I think being nice is just being polite or courteous. But while being loving now is you going the extra mile or going above or beyond for someone, right? So, the reality is in life, you might have an opinion on someone, or you might think that the person is doing something wrong, but they might have the opinion that what they're doing is correct. So do you think it's how we communicate with people that um will be the real deciding factor there? Because how you communicate with someone, even though you're trying to be nice, might come off as you not being empathetic to them. And even if you do mean well, right? And even if you do really care about that someone, or even in different scenarios, I think it's just, to me personally, it's how you communicate with someone, because even if you communicate in the right way, in some scenarios, it might not really strain the relationship. And sometimes, even if you do communicate in a right way, it might strain the relationship. But I think overall, it's how you communicate. So whether you're being nice or being loving, I think either side is how you communicate with the person. That's what I am getting from this.
Okay, cool, Rennie. Yeah, the issue that we're making here is that, yeah, of course, you have to try and do the best that you can in terms of how you communicate, how you share any of these things, etc. The problem is, or the challenge, the issue that we have to address is that we can't control the other party. So no matter how nicely we package the thing, it might not land well. And then, yeah, you have some other person that you can just talk straight. You don't have to think about how to package it. You can just tell them straight, and they appreciate it. So it varies. The basic position though is that we have to do our best, because at the end of the day, um, we can't control what the other person thinks or does. There was actually a TV show about this recently. I think Billy Harris had some blood thicker than water. Why would I put up this? Because this is so true. I mean, how could anybody question this? So yeah, but the basic concept is that the family take priority over everything. Yes, there's nothing that can test. So no matter what it is, we have an issue, I am going to back my family member. You don't necessarily want to hear the facts, etc. Their side of the story is my side of the story. Yes, because what? Blood thicker than water. So yeah, and I have a strong family. That's one of the God's richest blessing in my life, is that my family is wonderful and I love them, etc. etc. So don't go away thinking that I have anything against strong family relationships. That is great. And as a matter of fact, it's wonderful if you have functional families. But not every family, not every relationship, they want to call it, sometimes not even call it a real family, but even not every blood connection is functional. That's not every situation like that. You just have to just look at the news. There's a brother that killed another brother over a bar of soap. Man go use the wrong, use the brother soap, and there's a fuss. Yeah. So, blood thicker than water. Sometimes we carry to the point now where your family member can do no wrong. Your family member can do no wrong. Your blood, I should talk about the biological family member can do no wrong. And so sometimes that also then enables people to be abusive, to do all sorts of things, because it's family, and we allow it to happen in the family because we don't want anybody outside to know, for example, what's going on. Well, here's a thought. Here's a thought. I consider St. Andrew, members of St. Andrew, my family. So what about that? And sometimes you have people that are close to you, are those quote unquote family. So when we look at the biological, that's one side. But there's also what somebody would call the chosen family. Your chosen family, people that your inner circle, people that are close to you, that you relate to. I wouldn't say like family because they are family. Yes. Is that a concept that we can look at? And so if we look at it again, we're talking broader than the church here, but that is one of the things that one of the anchor pillars of Christ thing is this whole idea of neighbor and who is a neighbor and so on, and how important is your neighbor, not necessarily just your blood relatives. Yeah. As I put it here, we actually are blood relatives, but it's not, human blood. We're actually united through the blood of Christ. So Jesus, sometimes people read it and say, no, this is rude. Them said, some family here, this is my mother, this is my brother, etc. So that example. So the question then, when we're looking at using the blood, the sicker than water, that we can allow the biological to take place and to override the rational thinking and appropriate behavior, etc., just because it's family. That's not appropriate. So is it okay for us to separate ourselves or to set boundaries with toxic family members? Yeah. Suppose there's somebody that is behaving inappropriately. As a matter of fact, let me go down to the practical examples. Right? So the parents have things to say that are totally demeaning. Right? I bring into the world and I can take you out. Yeah. Up to this morning, I'm in the parking lot waiting for my granddaughter to come back from ballet. And there's a man who laced his son with some of the language that he would have to pay quite a lot in, because the boy is a little slow coming out of the car. One set of string. I'm with my son. I can't do that. I can't talk to him. I know. But the question is, if you have brother or sister, whatever it is, uncle, that's behaving inappropriately, is it appropriate to put boundaries, separate yourself, be clear? Yeah. So this example here is a case of a more adult individual who is not living with the mother. And so you go and you visit, mommy and daddy. But when you go and visit mommy and daddy, there's no question about what mommy think about you, and listen, and you both listen where all this not come to nothing and blah blah blah. So you feel obligated to go and visit because, of course, blood thicker than water is your mother bringing you into the world. But is there a point where you can say, mommy, could we have a little discussion about this? Oh, Moxie, of course. But could we have a little discussion about it? And is it okay then to not visit us frequently? Or maybe, I don't know. Those are questions that we have to answer. And then, of course, the whole question of the finances, where the person keeps coming back for more resources and, not taking care, not doing things in order to put them in a position where this is not a recurring destiny. Is there a way to say, okay, you might call it tough love, but I don't know what to call it. But am I bound because of the blood to have to put up with what might be considered abuse? That's a question. So your questions are, who does a Christian understanding of the church and the body of Christ challenge the primacy of the biological family ties? And when is establishing a boundary with a family member an act of love for them and for yourself rather than an act of rejection? Brother Andre, over to you, sir.
You know, from my context, I must admit that this this blood thicker than water um, continues to traumatize a lot of people. I mean, because in their mindset, it even goes back to the other one that you had before. Because of the nature of the relationship, then you must not talk to me. You must not say this. You're a family member. Let my enemy speak even the truth to me. You're supposed to be siding with me. And so it's the expectation that we have, and the idea that, and maybe all that comes from this from that concept or myth rather, that's a blood thicker than water. And as a result of that, certain facts, certain truths, certain behavior must never come from you because we are blood. And so even if I'm doing wrong, I done my one boy already, I done my one girl already, I'm done my one, and so we rationalize and justify why I have to remain true to this relationship, even if this relationship is damaging, even if this relationship is causing hurt to others, even if this relationship, has broken the law. Because of this relationship, what do you expect me to do? And so we almost justify putting up with wrongdoing. Why? Because blood thicker than water. And that's on one side. On the other side, we also find ourselves overtly traumatized because, again, how can my family treat me this way? And so even somebody's trying to say to you, yes, but what about what God wants you to do though? And God is forgiving. Yeah, but my mother never forgive me. And so sometimes we allow even some past traumas. We hold on to them longer than we should. Why? Because of who it is coming from. Because blood thicker than water.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, stranger can say it, but you should understand. You can't talk to me like that, honestly. Yeah. Interesting stuff. Anybody else on that? Right. Went right back to school. So stick and stones break my bones, but words can't bother me, can't hurt me. You can say what you say. I'll talk to the hand, whatever it is. Um, that's why we say such bad things because people don't understand the impact of our words. As a matter of fact, I have to digress because this is important. Stop and think of how we talk to ourselves, our self-talk. Yes? So we walk and we butt our tongue. Man is so clumsy. You know? And I maintain the view that if we spoke to others the way that we talk to ourselves, we would have very few friends. And so that culture, bear in mind again, the mind is very powerful. And when we train our mind to accept that kind of abusive language, then it's easy. I mean, if I can talk to myself and say, foolishly, man, we could I do that? See this? Yeah, if we can talk to ourselves like that, what's the problem with talking to others? So the whole underpinning of this one is that we need to fundamentally understand the impact of words. that, as a matter of fact, in many instances, people would prefer to get a slap on the face rather than to take some of that word, those words, those hurtful words. And so emotional pain from verbal abuse or unkind words is not a big thing. That's, so you can go on, run up your mouth, say anything you want, because, my back thick or my skin thick and whatever it is. But some of that is seeping through. Some of that is seeping through. And so when we minimize the emotional injury, this is Andre's stuff, and I know what I'm talking about. um, and get ourselves in a place where we ignore abuse, I think we run a risk then of missing out on the lasting psychological damage that can be there. And sometimes it lasts generations. We have children, you have people who sometimes, I'm thinking about a particular situation where something was overheard that has impacted the life of individuals for years upon years. And so that is part of the problem. Do not believe that incoming information doesn't have impact. Yes, some of us develop nice screening, and can sift out things, etc. But once it seeps through, it can have serious damages. So let us not promote the idea that people can say anything as long as they don't hit you. That's basically the idea. Abuse me in any other way as long as they don't hit me. That's one interpretation. That's one inference that you could draw from this. That it is okay. You're not going to get fired necessarily if you tell your colleague certain things, as long as you don't touch them. So if you fight at school, you might get expelled. But if you tell people really nasty things, no big thing. That's the impression. That's the mission. That's the problem that we are setting up for ourselves. Yeah. So again, that's not the kindness that we expect from Christians and people who are supposed to be behaving like Christ. And Proverbs again, death and life are in the power of the tongue. James is my favorite book. James tell you that if you can't control it, the tongue that tongue thing is a terrible, terrible truth. And if you can't control it, you're gonna have a problem. But it's so hard to tame it. That's the problem that we have. Yeah? That something happens and we bite it. Yeah? Because I shouldn't have said that. So yeah, we claim that we bite our tongue, but really and truly it's gone away. So I'm suggesting that this myth promotes verbal abuse, and it's not something that we should do. Be kind and compassionate in one another. Yeah, forgiving each other. That's basically the idea. We need to have that kind of mindset instead of rushing to say unkind things. All right. Let me see what my time is. Okay. We can finish this one. But Andre, I will put more. Maybe we're looking at January. Let's see. So marital conflict. A spouse uses sarcasm or belittling language. Yeah. This is some really off color things to the partner. Not thinking, and sometimes they might say, no, I was just joking. I never mean it. I was just joking, or whatever. And it just goes on and partner. Again, going back up to the top, just accept it for a peaceful life. I don't want to cause a fuss. It's not helpful. It's not helpful. Those words are doing something in the partner's mind. It's been, they don't feel whole in the relationship. They don't feel as, loved and cared for. So that's it. And of course, in that state, they might not express love and care in a way that um, they ought to. So one approach to that would be to have a discussion. You keep saying this, and I've really, responded or reacted to it, but I don't think it's helpful. I think it's something that we should address, and I would prefer, and it would, more beneficial to the relationship if we spoke to each other, or you spoke to me in a more respectful way. That's healthy. That's conversation that we need to have. I think we avoid a lot of conversations that need to take place. So that's one. Church gossip. So we go, things are going around. That's only church. People gossip all over the place. And I think this is more structured. If we were to have a church environment, but just think about it. We just pass on the information. Thinking is now, yeah, about so and so. You know what happened to them? And we just pass on the information. And right now, it's not even verbally. We just forward, So we get it, and you can see it. And by the way, anybody who's sending me a many forwarded things, don't expect me to read it. Okay. So we just forward, and that's how the information was on. So the sin of gossip is very much at play here. All right. Would you be able to read it, sir? Colossians 3:19 for us? Or you can't, Michael? Next time running out on me. Okay, I'm gonna get to it. Colossians 3:19.
It says,
okay, cool.
wives, submit to your own husbands as is fitting in the Lord. No, that's 18,
That's
sorry.
18. Well, go ahead, but that's
19
good.
says,
No, read
husbands.
it in again 3 times.
No, I'm sorry, I need 19. Husbands, love your wives and do not be bitter towards them. Of course, the word bitter there means to be harsh, to be resentful, to be toxic. And so by itself, the language that is used is crucial to ensure that it fosters a healthy relationship.
Amen. Yeah. And sometimes we just ignore it, because I said this whole thing of the stick and stone, it might not be in those terms, but we normalize. Let me tell you the extent to which this thing is normalized. One of the things that people say about Jamaicans is a strange way in which we greet each other. You know, hey, dirty Trevor. I mean, and his friend. I mean, it's not a curse. It's not a problem. You understand me? What this John? And seriously, are you aware of this? That we use some terms that are not polite, right? When we're talking to each other. Let me tell you an incident with me. I know I'm not going to finish everything today. I'm sorry, but I was in Trinidad. Right? I don't know, one of my friends from Jamaica, a co-worker clearly, etc. And we were having a discussion, just general discussion. And I Trinidadian colleague kind of stepped back and said, And then he came and said to us, you know something, I stepped back because anyhow, two Trinis were talking like that in a sort of agitated way. Fight, fisticuffs immediately after. But I said, no problem, whatever. We weren't in any big argument. We just talking. So that's what I'm saying to you, that I think, I don't know if other culture, but definitely in Jamaica, we normalize an aggressive and way of communicating that manifests this fully, that words do not matter. We can't say anything and tell anybody anything, and just so, just as long as we don't hit them. That's when we're supposed to stop. No violence, no physical violence, but verbal violence. That's where is you're a big man. I look at sister and one. What the person has said to you, ciao, you're a girl. Sorry, can't say that. But anyway. Okay, so the questions are here. For what the talk. This is the last one, unfortunately. What about the language that we use? Is there any doubt at all that it is harmful and that it is actually impacting your brain? Yeah. I watched, for example, again, I use a Melrose devotion. We're trying to have quiet, etc. Right? Interesting. So a child might be standing in the wrong place or whatever it is, some minor thing. And as a teacher, then the teacher that son of that, and well, shouting and whatever it is about him. And I'm just wondering if I am a student and the facilitator is up here saying, let's try to be quiet so that we can actually hear what's going on. And I'm hearing the teacher louder than the person with the microphone. What is my reaction? What am I to take away from this? So this sound, the words, that communication is important, and the culture that we have of downplaying the impact. Andre, you have to talk on this, because that is your phone. Unless maybe you don't want to talk on it because you want to earn some money with it.
Boy, I tell you, this one is, I think, well, all of them, literally. And for me, there's this connection with the ones you've said before, and connect to this one, connect to that one. I think everything really is amazingly connected right here. But wow, verbal abuse is so strong and so heavy in our society. As a matter of fact, I don't remember the point, one of the points that I think 2 points before this one that you were sharing, I was kind of in my headspace. I was wondering if we know how to complement each other. Really, and one, and then number two, I think a mechanism that can be utilized to help us to not allow this myth to overtake us is emotional intelligence. I really, really believe that we have to teach over and over and educate, teach it with our young ones, tell them how to express how they feel about something that offends them. What are the correct things to say, to use their words over their actions, when to pronounce it, to share it, how to feel, not really, let's say how to feel, how to process rather that feeling, to decide, is it mandatory now for me to give it back the way I got it? You know,
Yeah.
it's just so much, really. And so it does seem as if we have to, with our children, revolutionize almost our society and a whole in how we speak to each other, and what is it that we're going to take, or not take for that matter. You know, and so really and truly, the verbal abuse, you know, it's so strong, it's so prevalent, but also this idea that, boy, I'm strong enough to take certain things. Yeah, well, good luck. You know, sometimes there are times in which it a word might might serve as a trigger, um, to deal with a trauma that we have not. There hasn't been any intervention to manage that trauma, and so of course we fly off the handle. You know, the straw that breaks the camel's back, so to speak. You know, and so I'm just kind of just saying here that, um, wow, how do we manage this one? You know, I'm also thinking about how we can empower folks, and hence the emotional intelligence. But even in light of that, boy, it is so widespread, and our interpretation of a situation, or who's it coming from, and all those things, you know, has a lot to do with how it's going to sit with us or not sit with us, and whether or not we're going to push back or not push back, or listen differently, and take, sieve. I think you know that term, right? You know, and decide what is useful from what is not useful, and don't in return find that feel like I have to attack the person. Does it make sense? Because does it matter who it is coming from? If the word spoken, does it make sense? Then how am I going to take it, and am I able to take out the ugly terms and the ugly classifications, and just take the truths, can you imagine somebody who is rude to you, and you say to them, should I understand you to be saying? So you're checking understanding, but of course you're using a different term and a different word. It's like, it's not really mirroring, but you're using a different word and different term to put it back to them, because you're also saying to them, this is one way in which you could communicate that to me, and do we find time, and make an effort, a conscientious effort, though, to listen that way and put it back to the person in a different way? Or do we get upset automatically because this word was ugly, and because it was ugly, then the first thing comes from out of our mouth is that you are disrespectful, you're rude, you're unkind. And so really and truly, the communication now breaks down because of how we allow it to sit with us, rather than check, understand, and go deep and say, should I understand it to be sane? And this is why I mentioned emotional intelligence, on a whole. So really and truly, I know I said too much already, but yeah, emotional intelligence, I think, can go a long way in helping us to manage what we hear, and decide how we must deliver it in return.
All right. Hearing me, but yes, so be hearing me now again? Yes. Somebody say yes? No?
Yes, you can speak now.
All right, okay. So let me just run through quickly what it is that we're doing. So we're looking at myths, things that our grandparents and parents and this community accept as okay, but are not helpful in terms of how we relate to one to another. And so the first impressions one is what we looked at to say this idea that I'm just meeting you and whatever it is happens here um, is indicative of who you are, and that's how I'm going to deal with you going forward. That's not helpful. And we looked at people like Paul, who Saul, who 1 minute was actually looking to kill Christians, and the next minute is writing all sort of gospels there. So if the church had said first impressions, hey, you are a man who watched Stephen get murdered and you're all right with it, we wouldn't have all of this. So the whole idea of that doesn't make sense. That's what we're saying, and that we need to then wait. Basically, I think Donna made a good point, but I was saying to her, why eventually you'll get there, but why put the mountain before and then have to clear it? It don't make sense. So the idea is to have the open mind from before. Yes, you're going to have some impressions, but don't start to label it. Do not put it in concrete. Let it sort of wait until you learn more about the person. I don't have anything, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. Again, this is something that we need to punch a hole in, because there are times when you need to hold people accountable. You need to have a constructive discussion with people. You need to put up boundaries. You need to be able to explain why a certain set of actions are not appropriate. Of course, you need to speak the truth in love, but I love the Proverbs 27:6 that says, the friends, man, your friends must lash you, take the lash from your friends, because that is, yeah, your friends should not allow you to behave in ways that are inappropriate. And you should take that. And of course, I use the other side of my mouth to say, bear in mind though, that when you, out of your kindness of your heart, say that to some of your friends, it might not land the way that you think it will land. And the friends might think that you're bad-minded and walk away. And then we had some examples of people who actually did that and went through the process, and the person might come back, but they might not come back at the same level, because I don't want you to set me straight again. All of that happened while you were sleeping. Blood is thicker than water. Yeah, this is the thing here. As long as it's family, blood. Yeah. So, as I said, my brother's side of the story is my side of the story. That's it. That settles it. Biology over everything else. And then my question came up with, what about what I would call the chosen family, the people that you choose as your family, like a church? These are brothers. We call them brothers so and so and brother this. Are they real family? And are they to be treated less than the biological? Those are questions that are out there to be answered. All right. And Jesus set the example where he says, what do you mean, family? See them here? See my family right here with me. All right. So that's a question that we have to look at. Brother Andre raised a key point about people being traumatized because of this thing of the family, and understanding that the blood thicker than water. And even though there's so much disappointment and pain coming from the blood, I still have to hold on to it, because we have all known that blood thicker than water, and we can't do nothing about that. Yes? All right. So abuse is a big one that come out of that. And the famous statement is that I take into this world, and I can take your say better, accept whatever it is that I say and do. Not healthy, because that's not basically where as Christians, our people should be. Stick and stones. This is the last one we did. They break my bones. And this one basically says, as long as you do not physically assault me, the verbal abuse is fine with me. Verbal violence is fine, because my things, my skin is thick and my back is broad. You can't take anything, you can't say anything to me. And we have a culture in Jamaica where even in friendly conversations, we use some serious derogatory terms to talk, call our friends, but we're ready to fight about it. So that's something that we have to look at because the words really do matter. And our brains are being trained and growing consistently. So we have to look at it. We have to look at how we talk to our children. You know, yeah. You're lazy like a worthless pooper. You know, that's it. Or worse. And I won't go there about the skin color against white, whatever. So those are some of the things that we try to do. We want to remind you that this is an outreach of the St. Andrew Church of Christ. I would invite you. Here we go. Right. So, the St. Andrew Church of Christ meets at 77 Reddings Road. We meet on Sundays at 9 a.m. And then we have slew of Bible classes for different ages immediately after worship. And on Tuesdays, using the very same Zoom link, we have our Tuesday night Bible class. Going through a great series right now on Tuesday night, Fully Alive in 2025, Brother David Tennant leading really interesting series. And on Sunday mornings, we're coming to the close of this, where we're looking at conditions of the heart. And right now we're dealing with apathy. All right? Just bear in mind one thing is that YouTube, if you go on YouTube, you can get this content. So it's simply Christians with a SJA. Right? And it's also on Facebook. And of course, we have our website, standrewchurchofchrist.org. Thank you for your time. Really enjoyed this. And we meet for Nav Life on the first Saturday in every month. And the last Saturday, we have our grief therapy session. Brother Andre helps people who are grieving. So last Saturday, grief therapy. First Saturday, Nav Life. And of course, every Sunday, we're at 77 Reddings Road. And thank you very much. Hey, by the way, I can say it. I know some of our brethren don't like it, but Merry Christmas when it comes. Enjoy the season. I know it's a difficult period, but let us also remember that we also need to resuscitate ourselves and re-energize ourselves. So let us use the season to calm ourselves down, reconnect, and get our focus back for 2026. My prayer is that as we put about the buildings and as we do all of the physical reconstruction, that we do two repair jobs. One of them is our relationship with God and whatever work we can do to help with that. And the second one is our relationship with others. Let us see how we can bring this idea of loving our neighbors closer together in 2026, because that is part of the message that we should get from the destruction with Melissa. A time to stop and to reflect and to better understand who we are and at whose beck and call we are, who should be respected, and who is in charge of everything. Sometimes we forget the source. Thank you again, and may God richly bless you. I think I see something in the chat. Oh, Harper Church, said, polite, anything you send out, is one of them that will definitely send back to thank you. Right? So she doesn't want to be like the people that are healed. And the 9, so we are the 9. Definitely wants to make sure gratitude is a must. Thank you. All the best. I'm out.